I'm really excited to speak with today's guest because he really is one of the UK's most successful entrepreneurs. Simon Coulson climbed the corporate ladder with BT, formerly known as British Telecom, for 14 years before quitting the city life. He then started a series of internet businesses and has now built 5 separate 7-figure online businesses. In that time, he's generated over £30 million or $38 million in sales from his combined businesses, the first $2 million of which was from his spare room in his house. So I think this is going to be an interesting conversation. Simon, it's great to connect.
Great to be here.
Well, I mentioned in the introduction about you stepping away from the corporate ladder. That must have been a scary thing to do.
Yeah, it was. And everybody at the time thought I was a bit mad, but the background to it was I'd been working in central London. I lived in Kent, and I'd been working there for 14 years, as you said, and it was a 2-hour commute door to door just to get to work and a 2-hour commute home. So I was travelling for 4 hours a day, and there was overtime available, so I've been working extra hours. And things came to a head one day when I was actually travelling home from work at King's Cross Station. I remember getting on the escalator, and then the next thing I remember, I was kind of standing on the escalator, and then I remember just kind of waking up, and I was lying on the floor at the bottom of the escalator with what felt like hundreds of people stepping over me. And eventually one of them was kind enough to sort of lean down and say, "You all right, mate?" And I just about managed to go, no. And I was just trying to work out what the hell I was doing, how I was there. I was thinking, have I had a heart attack? Have I been mugged? Have I had a stroke? Like, what's happening? So it was all very dramatic. They called me an ambulance. They put an ECG on me and everything. And heart and everything was fine. No one had mugged me. They just concluded that I was suffering from exhaustion and my body had just shut down. It had just, you've just been doing too much. So the diagnosis was go and see your doctor tomorrow, in the days when you could still see a doctor, and get signed off for a week. And basically just do a week of complete rest and let your body recharge because it's just telling you you're overdoing it. And that was a massive turning point for me because it just meant I thought, hold on a minute, I'm 32 years old and I'm burnt out effectively. And retirement age is 67, so I've got 35 years to go and I'm burnt out after 14. This isn't for me. This clearly is not going to last. So I was kind of started weighing up my options and thinking about what else I could do. And a couple of fortuitous things happened really around the same time as well, ironically. One was BT announced a redundancy scheme and said they were looking for volunteers to go. So I'd get a few months' money if I sort of volunteered to go, which I thought would give me a buffer to find my way doing something else. And the other thing that happened was I'd been playing in a kind of pub covers band for years, and we'd recently just changed that band to be a Coldplay tribute band because Coldplay were just coming to the fore and being really popular. And we were doing a couple of Coldplay songs in a set, and I just had this crazy idea on the way back from a Coldplay gig at Brighton Centre. I said, why don't we just become a Coldplay tribute band rather than just being another pub covers function band? And the guys kind of went with the idea. So it was really the first listening business of rebranding, which was change the name of the band to something close to Coldplay, which we settled on Cool Play.
Nice.
And basically, we'd started doing gigs as a Coldplay tribute band and found that just that rebranded exercise had actually given us a 20-fold increase in income because we used to go out for £100 a gig and suddenly we could earn £2,000 a gig. So all these things happen at once. It's like, well, hold on, I've got this other little job here on a Friday and Saturday night with a band where I can get £500 each a gig. So do that 2 nights a week. That's £1,000 a week. That's more than BT are paying me anyway. And if I volunteer to go from BT now, they're going to give me a few grand to leave. Mm-hmm. And I can't keep doing this BT thing anyway because it's killing me. So let's just take this leap of faith. So I literally left. Didn't have a clue what I was going to do. I actually remember on my last day of employment on the way home, I popped into a newsagent's and they had a book on one of those little revolving things by the checkout, and it was called The Beer Mat Entrepreneur.
Right.
And I thought, I better buy this. I better start figuring out what I'm going to do because I had this vague idea that I might start my own business. So the plan was kind of, look for a local job, start my own business, and in the meantime, the music will keep me going. So that was kind of how it all started, really.
Nice. I mean, the most important question I think that I'm going to ask in this entire interview is, in Cool Play, what do you play? Is it drums? Is it guitar? Is it vocals? What's your role?
I am Chris Martin, so I do the piano and all singing.
That doesn't surprise you. Do have a look of Chris Martin about you.
Slightly larger. In fact, when we started the bank, because we were a little bit older than them, we were sort of bouncing around ideas. And my original suggestion was old play, because we thought that would be like selling ourselves short and probably wouldn't get many gigs booked. So we settled for cool play.
I love it. Now, obviously, you've stepped away at this point from the 9 to 5 or the usual 9 to 5. How quickly did you read The Beer Mat Entrepreneur?
Very quickly. Within a couple of days, I'd kind of read that, and that got me thinking a little bit. And then what happened next was I saw an advert for a seminar which claimed to teach you in one day how to become a millionaire. And the thing that caught my eye was there was a guarantee, and it said if by lunchtime you don't believe that you can become a millionaire by completing this training, you can leave for a full refund. So I thought, well, it's a pretty bold guarantee. So I must admit, I booked a ticket to this one-day workshop, and when I went in with the mindset of, I am going home at lunchtime. I'm just coming here to see what's going on, but I'm sure you can't become a millionaire and you can't learn how to do it in a day. So I will be going home at lunchtime. But the guy running the workshop did something very smart. Firstly, in the morning, he told us all about the business model, and it all made sense. It seemed very plausible. But then just before lunch, he passed round his bank statement for that week, showing that he had over £1 million in his current bank account. And it's like, wow, this is social proof if ever you needed it. And it was perhaps more valid for me than other people, because of two reasons. One is I'd actually left school at 16 and gone to work at a bank, and I worked at Lloyd's Bank in Woolwich for a couple of months before I decided that it was very boring and I was going back to school to do some A-levels. But when I was at the bank, in those days, all the statements for the business accounts actually used to be distributed by the branch. So they would come to the branch and then we would have to post them out from the branch. So I'd seen literally thousands and thousands of business bank statements. And I was firstly amazed when I worked at a bank that most of them started with a minus number. And it amazed me how many businesses actually are running in overdraft for cash flow reasons. And none of them had anything like more than, I think the biggest bank statement I'd ever seen for a business was like 150 grand or something as a positive balance. So seeing someone who was like a solo entrepreneur with over £1 million really got my attention. And at that point when he passed that around, I'm like, I'm going to stay for the whole day.
And you did. Would you put that down as a turning point then in your life?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's what started my first business. So that the workshop was all about information products, and the guy had actually made a fortune from selling educational, in those days mostly DVDs and CD-ROMs. And I think possibly when he got started, audio cassettes, which ironically are going back again now, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
But he'd done really well with that. So, and I think the key takeaways were, here are products that you can sell that have pretty much got a 99% profit margin. To duplicate a DVD would cost about £1, but you could sell it for £100 a disc. You could sell a set of 10 DVDs on some topic. You were selling them for £995. So there's a 99% profit margin. I was just thinking, God, I've been working for this big company called BT that ran on a 4% gross profit margin. And by the time it netted down, it was kind of like under 1%. It was like the complete opposite of what I knew about business. So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to have a go at one of these information products. But what I didn't have was much capital to invest in purchasing. What this guy had done is he'd purchased resale rights licenses to products that other people had already created. So I kind of figured that what I'd do is I'll have a go at creating my own information product from scratch. Rather than license someone else's product, I'll make one. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I've done with my redundancy money from BT was I bought a property. But unfortunately, the only place in the world I could afford to buy a property was Bulgaria. Because in those days, you could buy a detached house in Bulgaria for under £5,000. So I bought this house in Bulgaria, and kind of on a bit of a whim, I just decided, well, it's about to join the European Union. Everyone's saying the property market's going to go up. Let's just write an information product all about investing in Bulgaria, because I was an expert. I'd bought one property. I'd actually bought one property, not even visiting the country. And actually, to this day, I've still never visited the country. So I've never even seen the house that I bought, because it all became a bit irrelevant over the years.
Definitely an expert then.
Yeah, definitely an expert though. But what I learned was, and even more so these days with, AI and ChatGPT and things. But even then, pretty much any topic you want to know about, you can just use Google and find the answer. So that first information product, everything in it I found for free on the internet. Really, all I was doing was repackaging information that was out there. And really what people were buying was the time saving, because I spent about 100 hours of research to put this thing together, which means that anybody else could have found exactly the same information for about 100 hours of research time. Or they could give me £20 and save 100 hours out of their life going looking for all that information. So really they were buying the time saving as much as the information in it itself.
It's amazing. I mean, that's an amazing story to come up with the idea in the first place. And when you released that for the first time, Simon, what were your expectations in terms of sales?
I really didn't know what it was going to do, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, I look back at that first website, and it was appalling. I made it myself in something called Microsoft Front Page, which was a bit like Word for websites in the early days. It was a very sort of clunky web page editor. I didn't understand copywriting or anything. So there was no sexy sales copy. It was just like, would you like to buy a property in Bulgaria? I've got a guide that will tell you how. Here's the contents. Chapter 1 covers this. Chapter 2 covers that. Chapter 10 covers this. It's $19.95. Click here to buy. And it was like a link to my personal PayPal account. And that was it. But I then tried a few things to kind of get the website found, managed more by luck than judgment to get it on the first page of Google. And then suddenly it started working. And within a couple of days, I was selling 20 copies of this guide a day for $19.95. So I basically had made this £400 a day cash machine at my first attempt. And that really set me off. It's like, right, this is great. Let's do another one. So then I very quickly created the Croatia property guide,
right.
And just rinse and repeat the same formula. And they did Slovenia, Slovakia, Romania, Turkey, Italy. Just basically did 34 of these property investment guides. Just basically repeating the same formula, just researching the hell out of everything there was to know about property investment in a country, making a guide on it, making a simple web page, writing the web page, on to the next one.
And fast forward to now, I mean, that seems like a world away, right? Because obviously, as I mentioned in the introduction, you have 5-7-figure businesses. So what's the story between those 2 points?
Yeah, so basically what happened next was, so starting from that point, I built an information publishing empire, I guess, if you like. And primarily, they were kind of how-to guides. So how to start a business, or obviously those ones, how to invest in property. So I did lots of business startup guides on how to start a cleaning business, a B&B, a coffee shop.
And were you doing any of these things, Simon? Sorry, were you?
No.
Okay.
So the next chunk of things actually is a good point. What I actually did was I looked around at people that I knew, friends, family, old work colleagues, and thought, okay, I've got a formula here of like, you can take knowledge about any subject and I can turn it into money. I know how to make a simple website, get some traffic to the website. So who do I know that's got a skill that I can work with them? I can get them to brain dump all they know, make the product, I'll market it, and we'll share the profits. So the next few literally came from that. So I had a friend whose brother was an electrician, so we did guides on electrical rules and regulations. I had a friend who ran a cleaning business, so we did a guide on how to set up a cleaning business. I knew someone that had opened a coffee shop, so we did a guide on how you open a coffee shop. So basically leveraging that extended network of contacts was where those next ideas came from. And then I thought, okay, then I ran out of friends basically. So then it was a case of, okay, let's look at this from the other end of the spectrum. What is it that people are looking for that no one's done a guide on yet? So I started looking at popular topics. So I did something on speed dating, because there were a lot of interest in speed dating, and no one had really written a guide on hints and tips for top speed dating strategies. I did a thing on how to become a plumber, because I'd seen an article in the newspapers that we had a big shortage of plumbers in the UK. So I thought, okay, there must be a demand for plumbing education if we've got a big shortage of plumbers. So let's make a guide on how to become a plumber.
Wow.
So, that's how the next few ones came along. Then actually the drummer in my band, a guy called Brick, he was a firefighter at the time. He saw that I was making loads of money from the internet and would be sort of picking my brains in the band bus on the way to gigs. And he was asking me what I did. I said, look, just come around and I'll show you. So he came around, and in half a day I just taught him the basic business model, which was, okay, firstly you need a topic, a subject. Well, you're a firefighter, so let's start with that. how to be a firefighter. Then you need a simple website. I showed him how to make a simple website using this front page software, gave him a copy of one of my websites as a kind of start for 10. And then you need some traffic. And I taught him some basic things about how I was getting traffic. And fair play to him, he went off and he made his first product, How to Become a Firefighter. That started selling well. So then he came back and said, what do I do now? I said, do the same as I did, rinse and repeat. So I did how to become a police officer, a paramedic, an airline pilot, a train driver. And I actually built that business with him. So we sell career guides in that business, and we're still doing that today. So we've got over 100 different career guides. So they're all about getting a specific job rather than starting your own business, which is what a lot of my early ones were. This is more about how do you get employment in a certain vocation in life. So that was one of the things that came along next. Then I started a membership site for reviews of business opportunities and franchises. So I realized that when I left BT, some of my colleagues at BT left at the same time. They invested their money into business opportunities, into franchises quite often. And sometimes it didn't work out well. And I thought, wouldn't it be good if there was a place where you could go and read independent reviews and feedback of some of these business schemes before you invest in them? So I created a website called Business Opportunity Review, which is basically a membership site that had hundreds and hundreds of independent reviews from the public, a bit like, I guess, Trustpilot or Checkatrade, but for the franchise industry. So that was the next business that came along. Then I got into selling physical products and started websites selling physical products that were being drop shipped as an affiliate. Then I started affiliate marketing. Then I created an online lottery business. Then I created a business like a music training business, teaching people all about songwriting and music production and music business. So yeah, that's it, briefly how I kind of ended up where I am now.
Simon, it sounds like you're always working.
Well, I actually hit the big 50 2 years ago. So my plan in life was always to retire at 50, which I've kind of done. I'm like a typical entrepreneur. I can't not do anything.
Yeah.
All the businesses have got managers in, so I don't do anything day to day. I just need a little kind of strategy call with each manager each week, really. So pretty much my foot's off the gas now, and really the last couple of years I've just been making lots of music. I've written and recorded 5 albums, 2 of which are cover albums, so I didn't write those, but the 3 original albums and two cover albums. So I've just been having lots of fun making lots of music for the last couple of years, and doing a bit of property investment development as well, with the fruits from the internet businesses.
So really you are the pinnacle of the internet lifestyle in many ways. You know, you've embraced the internet way of working, and now you're able to do the things that you like to do alongside the businesses, which, as you say, effectively now are running themselves because you have a management team in place. I mean, that's an impressive thing in itself. I heard a rumour, Simon, that you bought the Darling Buds of May farm. So the TV show Darling Buds of May, that you actually purchased the farm that was used in the TV series. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. So that it's funny. So I lived not far from there. I always loved that TV show when it came on TV, and I ended up, when I became successful in 2007, I think it was, I actually bought a barn conversion about 2 miles away from the farm where they filmed the TV show Darling Buds of May, and it's a lovely house in the Kent countryside. And I didn't know until I moved down there, but there was every year the farm actually opened for one day a year for a classic car show. And that had been happening since the TV series was on in the early 90s, and the car show had got bigger and bigger. So I went along to this car show one year, and it was a great day out, but I was really saddened by the state of the farm. Literally, the main farmhouse, all the windows were rotting, hadn't been painted for, 20 or 30 years. The little place was just falling down, and all the outbuildings were dilapidated and collapsing. And I remember consciously saying to myself as I was walking around there, if this place ever comes up for sale, I'm so going to buy it. Anyway, wind the clock forward a few years, about 5 years, and lo and behold, I'm watching the news, local kind of TV news, and it comes up on the news. The farm news for the Darling Buds of May TV show is on the market. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to have it. So I went along and viewed it, and of course it had got even worse because another 5 years had gone by and it had just got even more dilapidated. And it was the middle of winter, so it wasn't a great time to go and see it. But literally, all the grounds were flooded. In fact, there was basically an old farmhouse, then some old barns, and one of the barns was literally a few hundred years old, just had a mud floor, and that was kind of falling down. There was an oast house, but the ground floor was about 6 inches underwater, because there was a crack in the back wall and the garden was all waterlogged, and basically water was just flowing in a crack in the back wall and flowing out the front door into the stable yard. So it was a real state, but nevertheless I put a bid in and was the successful bidder on it. So suddenly I've bought a farm.
Wow.
With the intention of, developing it and restoring the buildings, but never having done property development before. So, what a place to start, developing a whole farm at once as your first project. So that was great fun. So I bought that, set about getting planning permission to convert the buildings initially to holiday lets. And my plan was to actually run it as a kind of holiday centre. And then there was a barn that I used as a training room, and actually did training courses down there for my Internet Business School business and my Songwriting Academy business. Then, as I got all the buildings converted, I licensed it for a wedding venue as well and ran it as a wedding venue for a number of years. And ultimately, wanted to develop it further and actually put in a purpose-built training centre there and make it a kind of management training centre where people could come down and do residential training courses. But unfortunately, the local council initially very supportive of that, and then did a complete about turn and said that they wouldn't support any further development in the countryside, which left me with a little bit of a white elephant, because the farm and all the cottages and everything were great May to September, but nobody wanted to go on holiday in the middle of the Kent countryside in the winter.
Yeah, of course.
So almost to call their bluff, I said to the council, well, if you're not going to support me putting in anything that means there's an attraction to come here in the winter, like a training centre where people would come in the winter because it's a residential training venue, the alternative would be to make it separate residential houses. Would you support that? And they said, yes, we would. So I actually split it then into 5 separate houses, each with a parcel of land, because the whole thing was set in 35 acres of grounds, and actually sold it off as 5 separate houses, which was in some ways was a bit sad, because it's a bit of a loss to Kent of a great tourist attraction. Mm-hmm. But I sort of philosophically look at life as chapters, and it was a great almost 10 years of my life there, buying it as a wreck, restoring it, seeing lots of people have what hopefully was the happiest day of their life, getting married there, lots of people having great holidays there. But unfortunately now it's separate residential houses, and I've kind of moved off to another farm now.
Wow. Okay, it's a great story, though. I mean, to have seen a TV show and to have fallen in love with the farm in the first place, that's quite an impressive story. I mean, I mentioned that you are one of the UK's most successful entrepreneurs, Simon. Do you do much outside of the UK, or do you primarily focus on the UK market?
To be honest, what I've sold is pretty much UK, just in a sort of professional capacity as a kind of speaker and a trainer on internet marketing. I've actually spoken at seminars and events in Sydney, in Malaysia, in South Africa, in America. So I've kind of traveled internationally to speak and train about internet marketing. And my music academy business has got a fairly global customer base. But the other businesses, to be honest, pretty much 90% of the customers are UK. So, I've made the success pretty much with a UK customer base.
Homegrown success story. Do you tend to price in US dollars then, or UK pounds?
No, most of our sites are in pounds. Yeah, most of the stuff is all in UK pounds.
Wow, because I mean, sometimes that flies in the face of the direction that many people are given, which is, charging US dollars, because there is a worldwide market out there, and everybody can, even if you're in, a far-flung country, you always know the conversion between your own currency and the US dollar. So it's really impressive to see that you've stayed true to your roots in many ways and charging in UK.
Yeah, but I guess there's a bit of a counter to that actually certainly if I'm in the UK and I'm looking at buying a product, if I see it's priced in dollars, I'm going to assume it's an American company, and it might not apply as well. I think, for things, especially things like the career guides where it's how to join the UK police force. If we priced it in dollars, I think people think, oh, is this how to get in the American police force? Is it relevant?
Yeah.
So
Good point.
there's probably an element of it's worked in my favour, I guess. But flip side is probably true. I mean, a shopping cart now on Internet Business School, which sells a bit internationally, kind of does clever dynamic stuff. So when you look at the page, it will price in your currency based on your IP address. So it will change the currency accordingly. So you can do clever things like that, I guess, to manage that.
And you mentioned Internet Business School, which is one of your products, right?
Yeah, so Internet Business School is my training company, which teaches internet marketing, which I kind of set up after getting lots of people asking me to show them how to make money online. So I sort of showed a few friends like Rick, the fireman I mentioned earlier, how to make money online, and they started making money. So then it kind of spiraled that lots of people that I hadn't spoken to since I left school suddenly coming out of the woodwork going, can you teach me? So I kind of set up Internet Business School to share what I was figuring out for myself, really, and learning about internet marketing with other people. And then after getting asked to speak at a few seminars, it seemed the logical thing to have a training brand, that there was something I could sell when I got a speaking gig about being an entrepreneur and online business. Obviously, there's a sensible call to action there saying, if you want to learn more, check out internetbusinessschool.com.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you talk about speaking from the stage. You are known for your stage presence. Obviously, you're in Coolplay as well, and your own band. What's the story about you managing to play at one of London's top venues as your debut kind of performance? What's the story there?
Yeah, so I'd been asked to speak at a entrepreneur seminar, which is happening at the London O2 Arena, and
it's a big venue. That's a big venue.
It's a big venue. Yeah, so I've done a couple of big ones before that. I've done Brighton Centre and Bournemouth. So I'd done a sort of audience of 3,500 and 4,000, but it was another step up. But I was like, I can do that. And so I was all prepared for that. And then I just thought, this just feels like a golden opportunity. Like every band's dream is to play the London O2 Arena. So I said to the organiser of the event, is there any chance that I could, perhaps do a song in the middle of my speech? And I was like, what are you talking about? This is like a business conference. I'm like, yeah, but, I think it'll be different. It'll be a bit of a pattern interrupt. It'll just be interesting and, be memorable. And he was like, no, it's not really set up for that. So what if I paid for whatever it costs for extra technicians, sound engineers, whatever, the kit, I've got the kit, we can get all the kit provided. Can we do it then? So I sort of tried taking away any reason why you could say no. And eventually, reluctantly, he said, oh, all right then. So he kind of agreed. And then we were like, okay, well, the obvious thing to do actually would be a Coldplay cover, because we're a Coldplay tribute band. So I didn't have any original songs at this point. But we then started looking into it because the event was being filmed and then going to be sold on DVD. The sum of money was pretty astronomical, like north of £100,000 to license one Coldplay song to perform at this event. So I was like, okay, that's not going to fly. Let's try another band then. So let's try something else. And we tried Take That Song. And that has got 5 separate artists, I think, with 5 separate publishers. So we never even got a price in time as the event was looming. So it's like, across the only way around this, I've got him to agree that I can perform, but I haven't got a blooming song. I'm going to have to write one. So I wrote a song called Make It Happen, which was a kind of, autobiographical song about, turn your dreams into action. Just like me, you can make it happen. Right. All about like that moment of like, my dream was playing the O2 Arena, and here I am on stage singing you this song about making it happen. So my first performance of the original song was on stage at the London O2 Arena, and he got a standing ovation. So it kind of went down all right.
That's madness. I mean, and to put this into some kind of perspective, as you say, I mean, this is a huge venue. In fact, Madonna in the next few weeks is going to be playing a series of sold out nights at the O2 Arena in London. So if anybody listening who isn't aware of that venue, it's definitely worth a quick Google just to kind of give you an idea of the scale that Simon's talking about. I mean, Simon, that's fascinating. You talk about the songwriting work that you do as well, the retreats that you put together. For anybody that's interested in that, where do they need to go to find out more?
Sure. So that's at thesongwritingacademy.co.uk.
Okay.
You can learn all about us there.
That's good to know. I'm sure there are many aspiring songwriters listening to this. You've also got the Internet Business School. Again, give us some URLs to go visit.
Sure. So Internet Business School is just internetbusinessschool.com, and that's the training company that I've got. We've got about 50 different courses there on digital marketing, every aspect of digital marketing, really.
Right. And if anybody wants to know more about you.
Sure. So I've got a kind of present site at simoncoulson.com, SIMONCOULSON.com. And if anybody fancies watching the video of that infamous O2 performance, if you just put my name, Simon Coulson, and O2 into YouTube, you'll find a video of that performance at the O2 Arena of that song, which will be quite entertaining, I'm sure.
I'm definitely going to take a look at that, Simon. It sounds very entertaining. So yeah, looking forward to that. And as you say, it's a unique song. It's an original song. It's not a cover. It's a song that you've written specifically for the event.
That's it. Yeah.
Amazing. Simon, it's been great to chat with you. It's an incredible story that you have, and congratulations on your incredible successes. Long may that continue. Even though, as you say, you're kind of semi-retired now.
Yeah, I'd say semi-retired. Yeah.
Not bad at 52, did you say? That's
That's it. Yeah. It's kind of all right, isn't it?
Yeah, you achieved a life goal there for sure. It's been, as I say, an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to catching up with you again.
No problems. Great to talk to you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.